I'm Victor Galvin, and welcome to our Marketers for Movers podcast. In this episode, we're going to discuss how you can save your moving company in 2026. Questions abound in this industry right now. Will the lackluster year for residential sales in 2025 carry over? Will mortgage rates go down in 2026? And what approaches are working for moving companies? They're all fair questions, and frankly, where we're sitting in February 2026, there are no real clear answers for some of these questions. For example, the National Association for Realtors is very optimistic, and their 2026 real estate outlook suggests a big rebound. Their lead economist says the group expects home sales to increase by about 14% nationwide this year. That would be great news for the moving company, for the moving industry. But the National Association of Home Builders is a bit more wary. Its chief economist forecasts a modest 1% rise in housing starts in 2026. If you're a mover, waiting for the rebound isn't a strategy. Costs continue to rise for labor and vehicles, facilities, and insurance. So how are you going to save your company in 2026? For some insight, we're going to talk to Bob Ottaway, president of Marketers for Movers. He's been providing marketing services in the moving business for 16 years. Hi, Bob.
Hello there, Victor. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Bob, Supermove recently published an article featuring moving leaders who predict the 2026 landscape and suggest who might come out on top. Did you get a chance to read that?
I did.
Did it provide any insights that you were not expecting?
I think that with the people they spoke with, industry leaders of many very popular and profitable van lines and moving companies, it was all over the board, and I think for good reason. I think one of the things that we've had to deal with since 2022, when the mortgage rates spiked up after 20 years of being almost at zero, is we found that we're not able to control our own industry, that we're having to deal with factors beyond our control, which is really frustrating, because we just can't go out and magically have people start selling their homes and moving because of the cost and the interest rate factors. And as you saw, the realtors say 14% increase, the home builders say 1% increase. I haven't read an article in over a year that has predicted that the mortgage rate is going to be below 5.9% anytime in 2026. So I really think that optimism is great, and I love optimism and I love hope. But I think that in today's podcast, we want to talk about the nuts and bolts of what are your options as the owner of a moving company? What else can you do to create revenue, to keep the crew on so you don't have to lay people off, and make the business function well?
So kind of keep your eye on the peak when you know you're going to be in the valley.
There's nothing more you can do. I mean, this is the worst time for moving and storage in the history of moving and storage. This has never happened before. Never happened before.
So how would you advise a moving company to raise revenue in a situation like this?
I think we're going to talk about 10 different things they can do today, and try and get it very succinct as possible. I know some podcasts are 15 minutes, some podcasts are a half hour, some are an hour. I don't think many of the men and women who own moving companies and are going to be listening or watching this podcast have a whole lot of time. So I'd like to go through them pretty quickly. And if people have questions, they could comment or email us, of course, or phone us, whatever they like. But I think that the number one thing that is most important is what we've been talking about on our newsletters for over a year, and that is pivoting. Is it popular? Probably not. We all like to do things the way we've done things. I don't have anybody that's a client or anyone that I talk to that calls us up to see if they want to hire us as their consultant. that, of course, everybody wants to move 4 bedrooms homes and 3 bedroom homes, and they want to do white glove service. And there are people in the country, there are moving companies in the country that have that brand recognition and that are able to charge the high price and get those type of moves. But for 98% of us, that's not really what's happening. So we really feel that part of your menu, that you have to have a menu in 2026, and part of your menu is um, different cost points for people to do business with you. All right. So, yes, full service move, cost point. As we know, prior to this period, since 2022, only 15% of the population was really in the market for a full service move anyway. That's why when we're working with all of our movers that hire us to do Google Ads, formerly Google AdWords, we have to go through all of the search terms and make negative hundreds of terms for U-Haul. I don't think our movers understand how big U-Haul is. And I think we need to tap into some of that business. They own, and as far as Google is concerned, the reason why we have to make their negative is to Google and to most of the world, U-Haul is moving. All right. We don't see them as movers, but the population does. So, that's all that matters. So we think the beginning point is a labor only move that has to be on the menu. Do a lot of the movers want to do that? No. And the ones that are doing it, some of our clients still send a van out and don't give a discount on the price. Probably a bit self-defeating, frankly, because people that want a labor-only move are on a budget. They need somebody to hire we have this huge credenza here. That's maybe, a 4-man job. But somebody's got to put that in the pod or in the rental truck that they have. There's 10 times, maybe 100 times as many prospects as want a labor-only move as want a full-service move. So our first recommendation would be, please add to your list of services a labor only move and do it at a lower profit point than you do with a full service move. There's no need to take a full size van out there and all this stuff and not give them a discount. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a better rate.
Well, that suggests a follow-up question, Bob. What about truck rentals?
It would be a leap, I think, for many of our clients and certainly many of the moving companies that are listening or watching this podcast. But I know one of our clients in the Denver area had a Penske truck rental. He was very successful with it, and it led into people buying moving supplies from him and all of these things. And I remember one story he told me. A couple came in, they wanted a fairly good sized Penske truck to move from Denver to California. And it was in that period where people were exiting California like the plague. And when the report came up from Penske for the rental, the fee to drive the truck to California was zero. They needed so many Penske trucks in California. So it's another way of interacting with the moving public. So yeah, a Penske, a budget, whatever you might do, that's certainly a possibility, Victor.
Well, if labor-only moves can bring in some new business, I would assume pointing some marketing attention at other specialty services might provide new revenue streams, might be a good idea. Can you give me some examples of what those might be?
Well, we've always felt that there is tactically offering specialty moves. Piano moves, pretty basic. We have some clients that don't want to do it, and I know not every moving company wants to do it because they would rather have the crew out for a full day job. But some of our very smart clients schedule all of the specialty moves on one day. So if they've got 3 or 4 piano moves, they can do them all in one day. A gun safe move is another specialty move, especially in states where the laws are very, very lax. We had a client in Northern Virginia that I'd say we put him up on Gun Safe Moves 10 years ago, and it totally revolutionized his moving company because his truck was out there giving estimates. People that wanted a gun safe move had often moved into a full service move of sorts. So another good place to start. And even if you want to put a weight limit on it, they're still calling you, and you have the opportunity to sell them and maybe sell them something else with that. But I would say gun safe, piano. We have somebody in Florida doing hot tubs and very successful at it. Um, and then, of course, something like senior moves, which is pretty standard. I think most movers do that right now. But maybe getting more affiliated with NASM and some of those areas to become more. Um, I don't know if it's certified, but certainly more credible in the senior moving space. It would be another area.
What about decluttering and junk removal?
When you see somebody huge like Mary Ellen Sheets, who founded Two Men in a Truck, was a neighbor of mine in East Lansing. And, there's a story where she was a key punch operator at the state of Michigan, and her husband left her high and dry. And two of her sons looked out the window and say, well, he at least left us the Chevy El Camino. And that's how it started. And she worked out of her parents had a farm in Meridian Township, and they had an outbuilding with no electricity. They ran an extension cord out there, and that's how things start, And they are now all about junk removal. And I was passing here in Troy. I was passing the South Oakland County Recycle Center, and there were at least six um, uh, 1-800 Get Junk trucks that had just dropped off their loads. It was like 8 in the morning, and they were all getting gas at the Meyer gas station across the street. It's a huge business. Now, a lot of moving companies don't want to soil their trucks. I get that, but maybe a truck that can do the junk removal, again, it's another place to focus.
You know, a lot of moving companies have large warehouse space. Um, what would you advise they do with that extra space?
Warehouse space has been in short supply. I don't know that it's as in short supply today as it has been, but certainly there are a lot of things that are possible, and one would be warehouse receiving. There's a huge business in warehouse receiving, and even as a specialty, warehouse receiving for interior designers, huge business. And all of our clients are doing that now. We have a separate page up for them on that. And one interior designer tells another, tells another, tells another, and becomes a very profitable business. And then just receiving in general, receiving and warehousing, another great business. We have a client that has all the US cellular equipment in their warehouse for all the resellers and all the linesmen come to the warehouse and pick something up. We have another client who has their LG appliances are all in their warehouse, and people can come and look at them, or the dealers can get them right from their warehouse. So there's a lot of opportunity in that area. And then we just had a client that talked about we put the last mile delivery up in the logistics area, and they just picked up a $50,000 contract from somebody that they had never heard of before, and found them online through the fact that we had the last mile delivery up. So another area that can add to your revenue this year that is not dependent on residential sales.
What about certified scales?
A couple of clients have certified scales, and it's good business. So I would say if that's an opportunity for you, add that to your menu of services.
I mean, we're kind of talking out of the box here. What about things like shredding services?
Um, it's pretty common for moving companies to offer records management. but few offer shredding. But we do have a client that does that, and at a very low rate, and it's profitable business for them. And people actually bring their paper to the warehouse to pay. I don't know whether it's 55 cents a pound or what, however they do it, but it's a very good rate. And again, it gets people engaging with the moving company. Maybe the shredding leads to a records management contract. Maybe it leads to another contract. And back to the warehouse for a minute, we actually have somebody who is going to self-service vaults, which I thought was really a brilliant idea. Um, to have the customer pull up to the dock and have the high-low bring the wooden vault out to the dock and have the customer actually load the vault themselves, seal it, and then the high-low puts it back in the warehouse. Now, granted, they've got to make an appointment to get back into it, but I think we're charging $65 a month, and why not? Why not? If you've got space, why not?
It seems like you're leaving money on the table if you're not
Exactly.
offering something like that.
Exactly.
Would now be a good time for a mover to retrench, or is the budget for marketing an important thing that you should focus on at a time like this?
Well, we know, being in the advertising and marketing business, that the old saying, the first thing to go when there's a downturn is advertising. And it's self-serving for us to say, oh, that's the wrong thing to do. Um, but the old expression, if you have a party and don't send out any invitations, can you really expect people to show up? And I think that even though maybe that's an oversimplification, it really does tell the story. Um, and one of the things we ask people when they call us to inquire about hiring us is, what is your marketing budget monthly? What is your marketing budget? If they don't have one, they're probably not somebody that we can help, because um, that's really one of the basics of business is promotion. And you've got to tell somebody about your business. And uh, you've got to ask for the order. I mean, it's as simple as that. And nowadays, um, there's no sense in being. I know we see some uh, moving companies using billboards here and there, but 99.9% of the people that drive by a billboard are not interested in hiring a mover. Okay, they're just not. Now, a billboard for storage, there's a bigger universe for that. That might work, and you might use a Facebook meta ad for that. But the only advertising that really is targeted and not wasteful is Google Ads, because nobody is searching for a Fram oil filter on Google unless they need an oil filter. Okay, and nobody's searching for a mover unless they're in the market to move.
So you've convinced me to spend money on advertising. Sounds like Google Ads is where you want me to put my money.
It's the first layer. If we're dominating Google Ads, and by that I mean if we have a market share of 50%, which is almost unheard of, but it could happen, then we'd probably say, okay, let's go to something else. And what might something else be? I don't know. It could be meta ads. It could be LinkedIn. I don't know. I'd probably stay digital because I think it's the least wasteful. But Google Ads is the foundation. That's for sure.
Well, I guess if you're in the market and you're typing in movers near me, you need a mover.
Well, the thing that a lot of the moving companies that are watching this podcast will say, "Oh, I tried Google AdWords and I didn't get anything from it," and we totally agree that has been the case. We've been consulting on Google Ads since about 2006, and we were with Opera was the original. We started with them back in 2000, and they didn't have the geo targeting. It was the Google engineers that figured out the geo targeting. Yahoo, I think, bought Opera, but when you went on Opera, your ad went throughout the world. There was no targeting at all. So if you were a moving company, they might have seen it in Indonesia, but um, Google figured out the geo-targeting. Yahoo bought Opera, and it took Yahoo 5 years to get the geo-targeting going. It was unbelievable. So that gave Google this huge head start, and it allowed the corner jeweler to use Google in that zip code, which that corner jeweler could have never done before. Now, so we've spent over $10 million on Google Ads over the years. They even sent me a Chromebook, which is kind of unheard of back in the day. But today, in the last 2 years or so, they have added Gemini AI to the Google Ads program, and um, the conversions. I mean, we have somebody right now in South Florida here in February, and it's just today's the 20th of February. They've already had something like 72 conversions at $10 a piece.
That's incredible.
It's, you know, so I had somebody that was questioning whether they should stay on Google Ads, and this was last October. So I took a leap of faith because I didn't know what it was going to actually say. But we went into the system at Google, and we looked at October 2025, and their cost per conversion was $35. And we went back to October 2024 because obviously moving and storage is seasonal, so you got to keep the months the same. And their cost per conversion was something like $135, $100 more per conversion. But once Google is able to learn who is clicking and all of this, they've just tremendously brought that cost per conversion down. So it's really, really valuable.
So now is a good time.
Yeah, I would say we use it. We use it for our advertising, and yes, we should use it for the moving company should too.
Bob, is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
No, I think we've covered it all. All of these items are add-ons. We didn't really talk about self-storage, Victor, but I think that our clients who have self-storage, they breathe differently than our clients that don't have self-storage. If you have the opportunity, if you have any land available, putting in storage units is just a no-brainer. And you can see with public storage and 1-800 self-storage, these places are all over the place. And here in Detroit, I mean, they're 5-story buildings, and you just say, can they really put another one up? And people just don't throw things away apparently. And it's just great revenue. One of our clients has over, I don't know, 150 units in one location, and they're 90% sold out. And they have maybe 40, 50 units in another location, and they're 100% sold out.
And that's a nice chunk of revenue coming in.
Absolutely, it's recurring revenue, which is what you want.
Bob, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Victor. It was great. I hope people are able to profit from this.
I hope they are too. And thank you for spending your time with us. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. We check them regularly, or give us a call.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.